And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm National Weather Service Meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska aviation weather outlook for Monday and Tuesday for the early week on this Sunday, February 18th, 2024. And the main weather features we're going to be watching here early in the week. We talked about the big high pressure over northwest Canada last week. That feature has broken down, retreated southeastward, and we're emerging into a different but similar weather pattern we've experienced. Low pressure residing out here in the Bering. We're going to see impulses of low pressure come up out of the North Pacific. An enhancement of moisture riding across the Alaska Peninsula, pulling up into the southwest along an old frontal boundary with the low still in the Bering. There'll be a stronger low and push of moisture lift northward across the Alaska Peninsula Monday night, very early Tuesday morning, then overspread the southwest and western interior, which will bring rounds of heavier precipitation, some heavier snowfall that could be mixed with some freezing rain, a little sleet, perhaps even rain in some areas. Eventually, we'll start to have some of that moisture work its way eastward across the Gulf into the Panhandle, but that will not occur until Thursday and Friday of this upcoming week. But widespread IFR conditions along the west side of the state, Middle Yukon River, Seward Peninsula, along the central western Brooks Range, much of the Gulf, broad area of IFR conditions because of warmer air coming northward. We're also going to have some gusty winds, a lot of turbulence from areas of the northern peninsula on up here into the western mainland, and also in areas we could get some gustier winds around Anchorage, especially later in the day, Monday, and again on Tuesday, as temperatures are going to be rising into south central around or even above 40 degrees. Monday afternoon, we have areas of IFR along the northern Gulf, Prince William Sound to Yakutat, northern Panhandle, south side of the Alaska Range with that warm southerly flow causing the air to rise, and then you have the cloudiness that forms, the lower cloud cover that forms along that area of the Alaska Range due to the upslope flow. We have areas of IFR back through the western coast, Norton Sound, west central interior. For Tuesday, here comes the next surge of moisture up across the Alaska Peninsula. Also IFR along the Yukon Delta into the Bering Sea, Nunavik Island, St. Matthew. And for Tuesday afternoon, we expect that moisture to lift northward. Well, this will likely, because this is just an outlook, this will probably be a larger area of IFR as we draw closer to that time and the analysis can fine-tune where the precipitation areas are, and also IFR conditions lingering along the immediate northern Gulf Coast. So Anaktuvuk Pass here for Monday starts out IFR but becomes MVFR. Same thing. Adigan Pass, IFR conditions becoming MVFR. Lake Clark and Merrill will also see IFR conditions along that west arm of the Alaska Range in the morning hours, giving way to MVFR. Same thing, Rainy Pass, IFR to MVFR. But places like Windy Pass, where you have a southerly flow coming up the Susitna Valley, it's going to stay IFR. Same thing, Isabel Pass, widespread IFR conditions in that area of the Alaska Range. Mentasta Pass may see MVFR conditions, try to go VFR Monday afternoon, but areas south of Mentasta Pass will be MVFR. And then as you go across areas of the Copper River Basin, Tanita Pass, IFR in the morning, giving way to MVFR. Portage Pass will largely be IFR, especially the eastern half of the pass out into Prince William Sound will remain IFR on Monday. MVFR conditions will exist along the west side and west entrance. And then Chilkoot and White will be stuck in IFR conditions throughout the day on Monday. Looking at the freezing levels, Monday morning we have temperatures above freezing along the Alaska Peninsula, nudging upward into Cook Inlet and then along the northern, just inland from the northern Gulf Coast and in the inner channels of the Panhandle. Freezing levels aloft, not yet that impressive, 4,000 feet, but we will see a surge of warmer, moist air aloft coming in out of the North Pacific on this map come Tuesday into Wednesday, and we expect these freezing levels aloft to rise as that warmer air pushes northward into south central. So icing Monday with the areas of precipitation and with the various lower cloudiness above 2,000 feet along south side of the Brooks Range into the west central interior, above 4,000 feet to southwest interior, and then above 6,000 feet along the Gulf Coast toward Kodiak Island. As far as the upper level jet stream winds at 30,000 feet, we have an anticyclonically curved wind max, this jet core of up to 120 knots. And then behind me, we have the low pressure trough sitting here in the bearing on the back side of it, jet core of 125 to 130 knots, moving off toward the south-southeast. And looking at 9,000 feet or 700 millibars, notice the broad belt of stronger winds in the mid-levels. We have 50, 70 mile an hour winds coming across the Alaska range that'll likely cause areas of severe turbulence along the ridge lines, higher peaks through some of the gaps, because this is, Alaska range goes up over 20,000 feet, the highest peaks. And we have strong winds on the Russian coast coming in south of the western Aleutians, a broad belt of 50 to 65 knot winds. And then at 3,000 feet, we find here comes that next core of stronger southerly winds that will be arriving across the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, pushing up into Lower Cook Inlet on Tuesday morning. So keep an eye on that as that warmer flow and strong southerly flow works its way northward. Here's the low sitting out over the bearing, still on the backside of it, looking at northwest winds of 35 to as high as 50 knots. Poised there just north of the central Aleutians, and then pretty strong winds here along the northwestern Arctic coast, especially from around Point Lay down through Point Hope, as much as 50 to 70 knot winds just above the surface there at 3,000 feet. So we would expect areas of severe turbulence there around especially Cape Lisburne and Point Hope, extending out into the Chukchi Sea. It would actually go over here into the Russian Arctic coast. Surface to 4,000 feet along the Brooks Range up into the North Slope, and a broad area of moderate turbulence in through the western interior. Surface to 4,000 feet, especially there just along in west-northwest of the Alaska Range. And then also we have, with that belt of stronger winds lifting northward by Monday afternoon, evening, we'll see perhaps some isolated severe turbulence just south of the Alaska Peninsula on the North Pacific side, and a broad belt of moderate turbulence back through the central western Aleutians, surface to 3,000 feet, thanks to that slow moving low pressure that's just north of the Aleutian chain.